This SOP webinar is for a MicroSphere unit. This is what the unit looks like to the user. You have the two pre-filters at the top, the fan filter module with the HEPA filters, and a chamber and main chamber. And the hood basically is a mini clean room. And a normal room has about 10,000 particles, but for clean air, ISO 5, it has to be less than 100 particles per cubic foot. And how it achieves that is that the air goes into the hood through the pre-filters, through the fan filter and HEPA, and then out through the back of the work surface. The HEPA filters will typically last anywhere from 4 to 5, even up to 7 to 8 years, depending on the usage. It's the pre-filters that will be replaced a lot more often, and those do the heavy lifting of the HEPA filter so that it preserves the life of the HEPA and that you don't have to replace the HEPA as frequently, because the pre-filters are a lot less expensive and easier to replace. They don't require a certifier to replace them. And also the HEPA filter is a lot more expensive in general as well as to ship because it's a sensitive unit. The pre-filters are changed every 3 months, but the HEPA filter, the certifier himself or herself will tell you when to change it. So you don't have to worry about that. Every 6 months, twice a year, when you get your hood recertified, the certifier will come in and say, hey, your HEPA is due for replacement, and he'll give you a heads up to do that. Similarly, for the motors, they'll last around as long as the HEPA filter does, typically around 5 to 7 or 8 years, depending on the use of the unit. And again, that's a part where the certifier will tell you it's due for replacement, so you don't have to worry about that yourself. I'll mention a few numbers. Any number that I mentioned in this webinar is also in this SOP document, so you don't have to worry about memorizing these numbers, but they are helpful, so that's why I mentioned them. The motor will typically have 60 feet per minute flow of air, and the certifier will notice a drop of 30 to 40 feet per minute, and that'll give him the indication or her the indication to change the motor. Just a general note about cleaning and operating around the HEPA filter grill here. In USP, they indicate to never spray inside the hood itself, whether the antechamber or the main chamber. Spray outside the hood onto a dry, low particulate wipe, and then wipe inside the hood. And the reason for this is because there's a HEPA filter grill here at the top of the main chamber, and there's a risk of the sterile alcohol going into, or any disinfectant going into the grill. So just what is recommended by USP is to spray on a wipe outside the hood and then wipe inside that hood. A few features to note on the equipment. You can see here, and you'll see it in person, that this window is slanted or tilted forward. And the reason for that is it gives a better visibility inside the hood, especially because there's an airflow inside the hood. The sleeves will start to expand in size. So allowing, being able to lean forward gives you a better visibility, especially for the hands near the work surface here, so you can see what you're doing. There's a lift system here. So you have a 12 inches, 1 foot up and down play for any height individual. So it's ergonomically designed so that they can be comfortable, which is important, especially if they're operating for hours and hours at a time. It makes a big difference to be to be comfortable. And then you have this footrest as well here. They can rest their feet here on the footstool. This is where the sharps container goes in. So there's like a little slot here, and then you can bring it up to attach onto the funnel here. You have these casters here at the bottom. These caster wheels we recommend to lock a foot away from the back of the wall. And the reason for this is we want to be able to have the cleaning crew, whether they come in at night or whatever, to be able to clean behind the unit and not have to move the unit to clean properly. As you may know, if the hood is moved, it needs to be recertified. So to avoid that, we recommend that you lock the caster wheels a foot away from the back of the wall so that they have space behind the unit to clean and they don't feel obliged to move the unit to clean properly. We're going to go over the cleaning procedure now. So you have two options. You can do this cleaning procedure twice a day, or you can do it once a day if you don't power the unit off at night. If you are powering it off at night, then before you power it on in the morning, you want to clean and disinfect the unit. And then you want to clean the unit before powering it off at night. And if you, this whole cleaning procedure, you only have to do once if you keep the unit on 24/7. Otherwise, you will do it twice. So the first step is you have the Clorox Fusion, which is a three-in-one, a sporicide cleaner disinfectant. So you spray on a low particulate dry wipe, then you go inside the hood. You wait the 60 seconds, and then you clean inside the unit. The 60 seconds allows the downtime for the hood to get back up to ISO 5, because anytime you open the panel or the antechamber or anything, there's a pressure difference introduced. So to get the unit back up to a normal pressure, that requires 60 seconds. This also coincides with the kill time of the fusion. Then you dry, you bring a low particulate dry wipe in to dry and clean off the fusion. Then you follow with a sterile alcohol 70%. Same thing where you spray on a dry wipe and then you go inside the hood and clean. You wait 60 seconds again, which is the same downtime for back up to ISO 5, as well as allows the IPA to do its job for the cleaning and disinfecting. And then you can power on the unit. Now, if you're doing this twice a day, then you need to wait 10 minutes before you start compounding. And this is because it takes 10 minutes to get the unit back up to ISO 5 if it was powered off at night. But if you kept the unit on continuously, then you don't need to wait the 10 minutes, just the 60 seconds, which is the normal downtime once the unit is back up to normal operation. Basically, the choice there is some people, if they're doing a lot of compounding and they want to avoid that 10-minute downtime, they'll keep the unit on 24/7 so they can avoid that downtime. So that's basically what that decision comes down to. But it doesn't affect the performance of the unit, doesn't affect the life of the unit, so the choice is really up to you. You have two gauges here at the top, pressure gauges. One of them shows the difference between the room and the ante-room, or the ante-chamber, and then the other shows the difference between the room and the main chamber. I'm going to mention some numbers. Again, all of these numbers are in the SOP document, so you don't have to memorize it, but it is helpful to know. Normally, you'll see 0.2 to 0.4 WC, which is water chambers, as the unit for the pressure reading. The minimum reading you want to see is 0.15 in water chambers. If it's below that, then you don't want to compound. And if it's going towards that, then you want to address the unit and address the issue and see what the problem is with the unit. And in either case, what the problem likely is either the filter is clogged up, meaning the HEPA filter, or the motor is not blowing fast enough and it needs to be replaced. In any case, you can reach out to customer service at Isotech, who will be the ones to help you with the motor and the HEPA filters, as well as any parts in general that need servicing. We have logs at the back here. If I scroll down. Yeah, so you have these logs. So you can log that you've been above 0.15 in water chambers for the pressure reading, and you can also log that you've been doing the cleaning properly, and then you have the signatures of everybody. This is just something for your resource so that you can show to the state board or whoever is inspecting you that, hey, we've been following the manufacturer recommendations, we've been operating above the pressure reading required, we've been cleaning on time and as scheduled. And so that way, when you are inspected, you can just show these logs to the state board and inspector, and they'll be very happy with that data. I'm going to go over how to introduce an item into the antechamber and into the main chamber. So again, this is the antechamber here. When you're putting vials and compounds into the unit, you never want to use any disinfectant on the compound. Just use sterile alcohol 70%, because disinfectants are only meant for hard surfaces. So there's a potential for the disinfectant, if it's not sterile alcohol, to actually permeate through the vial and get into the compound, which obviously we want to avoid that. So that's why it's only recommended to use sterile alcohol 70% on the vial and nothing else. Similarly, on the sleeves, the gloves, compounds, all that, you can consider sterile alcohol 70% as your general all-purpose cleaner if you're unsure about what to use. But especially on the compound, you should only use the 70% alcohol because of that risk of the permeation. So you clean the compound, then you bring it into the antechamber, close the antechamber door, you start the timer for 60 seconds, and again, this gets back up to ISO 5 because you opened the antechamber, so there's a pressure difference, and this needs to be addressed. After this 60 seconds, it'll be back up to ISO 5, and this will also coincide again with the rate of 60 seconds, which is the kill rate of the sterile alcohol. So after that 60 seconds, you can bring the compound into the main chamber. Simple as that. And then when you're taking a compound back from the main chamber back out, it's exactly the same process, just in reverse. So let's go over the sleeve kits here. These are changed every 6 months for a MicroSphere for sterile compounding. If you're doing chemo, then it would be every 3 months. You have these different parts here, which are the parts in the sleeve kit. You have the gray rigid cuff, the O-rings, the gasket, cuff extensions, the rigid piece here, and then the sleeves. The gray rigid cuffs, those are, and the plugs as well, those are permanent. So you don't need to ever replace those, just disinfect them regularly with sterile alcohol. The cuffs, the cuff extensions, which are these ones here, those need to be replaced once a week or when they rip. And I'll show you how to install the sleeve kit. Before you replace the sleeve kit, make sure the unit is powered off, and then proceed with this change out. So you take the rigid cuff, you take the tapered opening that's thinner, smaller diameter than the wider circle, and that end goes inside the sleeve first. You push it all the way through to the wrist portion when you pull it out, and this will have a portion of the cuff that is visible to attach onto the O-ring and the cuff extension. You wrap the O-ring around the cuff, and this secures the sleeve here on this groove. The cuff extension you drag over onto this outer groove here. You place the gasket onto the shoulder ring around the shoulder port here, this white piece. And then you stretch the sleeves and put it onto that gasket. That just allows it to secure better onto the shoulder port. And then you put the big O-ring, the black one, onto that groove to secure the sleeve on the shoulder port. The sleeve on the shoulder port. And then you place the plug, you push it through so that it remains airtight and blocks this opening here. So you just push it all the way through till it pops out on the other side of the cuff extension. And now, as you can see, it's airtight. I'll just quickly show you videos available on the Isotech Design website, which you can use to reference and see how to change the glove changing procedure or the sleeves. All of these videos, including cleaning and disinfecting as well. If you go to the isotechdesign.com website and then go to Client Services Instructional Videos, all of the procedures that I talk about today will be here. So you'll see cleaning, disinfecting, pre-filter changing, glove changing, everything is here. In terms of the glove changing procedure, you push the plugs inside the work chamber. So when you push your hands through the sleeve, the plug will pop out into the work surface. You wipe your gloves, sleeves, and the surrounding area with the sterile 70% alcohol. Put the sterile gloves that are inside the main chamber on top of your non-sterile undergloves. You wipe the plugs with 70% IPA and pull them out with your hands through the cuff extension. And this just creates an airtight seal again, so that you can pull your hands back out and there's no air coming inside or outside the In terms of the waste bag replacement, there's a funnel here, and you have a elastic band that you secure the waste bag to. So you kind of just like a garbage bag, similar idea, where you take the waste bag and pull it through this port and then secure it onto this funnel part here using an elastic band that we sell, as well as the waste bags, which we also sell as well. The sharps port, which I mentioned is earlier, you have a funnel here, and then you have this like resting surface that you can put the sharps container up and then lift it up until it connects with the funnel here, and that allows you to throw sharps down there, no problem. In terms of replacing general parts, you can always reach out to us at customer service to help you with that. For example, like replacing bulbs or things like that, just reach out to us and we can help you with that. It's not an issue. Relatively simple replacements most of the time. And that's the SOP webinar for the MicroSphere.